Okay, good evening. If we could take our seats, please. Okay, thank you. Welcome to the May meeting of the Milwaukee Area Woodturners. My name is Kevin Sigworth. I'm the president of the Milwaukee Area Woodturners. The program for this evening is extended show and tell, and we have a very nice representation of work that you all have been doing. So looking forward to that. We will also be having a wood raffle this evening. The wood raffle table is right there. There's quite a selection of wood. We've got, I think I put out four $10 gift cards to Craft Supply. There's a kit for, I think, like a salad serving kit. And yeah, I think that's it. So everyone that brought something in for show and tell will get one raffle ticket. So almost everyone's got a chance to win. And Lee will also be selling them at the break. Where Lee's right here in the front. Yeah. So, so we'll be doing that. How much are the raffle tickets, Lee? Thank you. So first order of business will be the financial and membership report. Edwin?
Good evening, everyone. As of the end of April, we have approximately $10,300 in the account. That's a $1,600 decrease from last month, mostly from insurance premiums and Stuart Batty's presentation fee. We have 113 paid members, no unpaid members, or we've just deleted your names. And we have a couple, and I'm saying approximately because I don't know exactly how much Stuart Batty's fee was. George does, and George is in Costa Rica. And we have two guests today. We've got Julie Gozdowiak. Welcome, Julie. And Gary Hallett. Welcome, Gary. And that is it for me. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, Edwin. Symposium is the AAW symposium in St. Paul is coming up in June. We've had a couple of people try to apply the $40 discount by using our discount code. But what we learned is that that $40 discount only applies if you sign up for all 3 days. So if you just try to sign up for one day of the symposium, you won't get the $40 club discount. But if you're signing up for the full 3 days and you don't have the code, contact Tony or myself, and we'll get you the code, and you can get 40% $40 off the registration. Um, the Bardenhagen wood donation is in-house. You can see over there on our new racks the wood that was donated to us by the Bardenhagen family. So the board is working on what we're going to do with that. First, we need to facilitate the auction. So we will be auctioning that wood off. I'll speak about that a little bit more detail in a few minutes. Um, and then, we have to fully decide exactly what we're going to do with the proceeds, but the plans are to support children and youth turning. So we intend to perhaps buy some equipment with the proceeds and have, set our lays up and invite youth groups in and introduce them to turning. So we would need face shields and tools and things like that. So that's the big picture where we're headed. The auction is in planning, is in process. It As it stands right now, it will be an online auction. We will open it up. It'll be open for some number of weeks, and it'll have an end date. And whoever has the highest bid in at the end of that will win it. So what we have some work to do before we can get there. We need to come down here and like put a number on everything, itemize the lots, and take pictures. And so there's a little bit of work to be done yet. Tony, did you want to say anything further about the auction?
No, I didn't have anything prepared, it's just the thing that if you want to bid, you're going to have to sign on to the website. And as I put in the newsletter, I'd rather you try to do that sooner than later, so that if you have an issue, we can get it squared away before the auction goes live.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Tony. So if you didn't hear that or you're online, Tony said that the auction will be facilitated through our website. So you're going to need to be able to sign on to it to participate in the auction if you want to do that. And his suggestion is that you try to log on now so that you know that you can get in rather than once the auction starts. Question.
Does that make members only or?
It's members only.
Members only. Yes. Also related to this, I wanted to thank Ron and his crew of Happy Cleaners who came in on a Tuesday or something, was it, Ron? Yeah, a couple weeks back and did cleaning and organizing, went through all the drawers, got rid of all the junk. Everything is clean back there. Set up the new racks. So a lot of work was done. So thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah, donuts. Yeah, somebody wrote donuts. Uh, Folk Fair and German Fest. So many of you know that the woodworker shows are no longer being held. It's a defunct organization, whatever it was. Uh, we were approached with the opportunity to demonstrate wood turning at a couple of events in Milwaukee this year, one of them being Folk Fair and the other being German Fest. In order to do that, we would need someone in the club to step up and be willing to lead that effort, organize it, get the the time slot staffed, get the equipment there, etc. So if you're interested in that, both or either one, talk to myself or someone on the board. But we will need someone to lead that, or we will not be able to take advantage of that. And that has been our form of outreach and promotion for the club. So that's what this would be. Yeah, the folk fair is deer hunting week, the weekend of deer hunting, which is like what, November 20th, and then German Fest is sometime this summer. I don't have the exact dates. And end of July. Okay. Yeah. I understand they're very well attended. So it it's a good opportunity, but we'll need the manpower to do it. The Wi-Fi cable has been repaired. Greg and team worked with the guys from the guild and AT&T, and our fiber optic cable is repaired. If you were here, last month we ran the whole interactive remote demo from Denver, not Denver, but Boulder, Colorado, through one of the members' cell phones. Are you here tonight? Yeah, I don't see him, but that was that was amazing. Yeah. So one we do have a plan for programs for 2026. So the one thing that I wanted to say at this point, for those of you that are going to AAW, and I believe there's quite a few of you, I would ask that you keep your eyes open for potential speakers for us for next year. So if you see somebody there and you think they're good, maybe ask for their card, find out if they do interactive remote demos or if they travel, and just give us some leads. It's helpful. We can always get lists of names of people, but it's helpful if someone has seen them and said, yeah, they would be awesome for our group. So keep your eyes open for that. All right. Any questions before we move into extended show and tell? Okay, so the way this will work is just come on up as you will, grab your item. Maybe you could set it here and speak into the microphone. Okay, so whoever is in the front just got tabbed. Come on up.
Get over it real quick.
Okay, this walnut piece is from the tree that Mike Rent went cut down for the group. I literally turned it the next day, wet, and and then I let it dry, so you can tell that it's real ripply inside here where the crotch grain is, and the bark is a little bit larger than the wood part, and I made it just a round bottom so it rockers on the table. Um, I did have an issue with it. It did come off the lathe, and so I do have a crack here. But probably gonna go to my wife for our anniversary and tell her this is the only broken heart you'll ever get in 43 years. How did I remove it? I used the larger jaws with some of that shelving foamy stuff to protect this. I push it against there, and I had the original center here to come up here, and then I got it as small as I could.
Okay.
And then I had to chisel it off and sand it by hand. This is the first set of um coring bowls that I've done. We did these back in June, original cored them in June, and last month they were at less than 10%. And I did find out that a larger piece like this is tougher to get a nice smooth bottom. So I got a little more work to do on the finish on these, but I'd like to thank Jim Andreessen for his support and teaching me how to do coring. And now I'm doing some on my own with the walnut that came from Jim from the demonstration of the walnut tree. This piece is the centerpiece. I wasn't gonna turn it because of the screw holes from the faceplate. But I thought, okay, we'll see what we can do with it. And I still got a couple ideas to maybe try to hide these better, but I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it yet. So
What kind of wood is that?
cherry. Any other questions?
So could you just talk a little bit about that walnut piece? That's a crotch piece that you got?
Yeah, it's a crotch piece that I got from that tree. And I had it. I asked Mike to cut it a little extra long because I didn't know how long I was gonna get to it. But then I was so excited about it that I turned it the next day.
Couldn't sleep, huh?
Yeah. The bark just kind of feels kind of rough, so I probably need to put some more finish in it. I'm gonna do some more work on it. I got until September.
Good, thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty anal about how the piece mounts to the chuck jaws. And I was pretty confident I had a good match on the tenon to the jaws. But what I like to do is I like to leave like a little nib where the center was, and it goes in the center of the jaws. And that was maybe a little too big, and the outside diameter was a little too small, and it actually clamped on that nib more than the outside diameter. But it looked really good. So when it came off and I looked at it, that nib that was there, that got tore up pretty bad, but the outer diameter, it had some, you could see where it came off, but it wasn't terribly damaged. It's like, okay, that's probably what happened. So, pardon?
So you're turning.
I had the whole outside done, but that was supported by the tailstock, and then I was about right here.
Okay.
So it stayed on pretty long, but
Make a job. There's the spindle next. Okay, cool.
So I made this for my 4-H club actually. I'm replacing their really old gavel. And then so this piece I actually got here at Woodcraft. It was kind of a clearance piece, had some kind of a crack in it. So I thought I'd use it for the gavel handle because I had this part traced out because I copied their model of it, but then the problem I had, because I didn't glue this on yet, I drilled this part into it after I had turned the whole thing. This chunk is actually walnut. So this was I think it was Beulah or something like that. And then I started out, and then actually at the end after the headstock end came off after I had turned most of it. So it was still good, but it came off. And then the pith kind of went in too after it dried. And then this one is actually a sawmilled ash chunk. So we take down ash trees and then we cut them, slab them into our pieces and let them dry for a while. And then I ripped this one down. And then I turned it into, I had the baseball bat because it was a little shorter, but I was kind of practicing to get my shape and angles and stuff good on it.
So that's ridiculous. Musky.
Yeah.
Follow around. Yeah. Cool.
And I actually turned it a different direction too, because I was going to turn it originally. I was going to put the handle part closer to the headstock, but I actually turned it the opposite direction than I read the book that they showed that they had it the knob closer to the headstock end, so it wouldn't come off as easy. I don't. Lane Rubin.
Yeah. Again, Miller.
Well, it said that we were supposed to bring in something that we recently turned. And last summer, we moved, downsized our home. And I didn't have my workshop set up until about maybe a month ago. So I didn't really get anything recently turned. In fact, when I was moving and unpacking everything, I ran across this little name tag that I made back in 1981 when I was a member of the Badger State Carvers. And we had a little challenge to everybody make a name tag for themselves. And at the time I was doing some chip carving also. So I thought I'd make a little chip carving design in it. And then I took a draftsman's template and I pencil lined my name on there. And this is actually carved. It's not CNC, carved or anything. It's all hand carved. So that was 44 years ago. That's when my brain and my hands worked together. And, so now I have a little problem with them. And this is just a little walnut lidded box that I made in 2020. And I guess you go online and you see, um, there was a fella in, I guess, in UK, yeah, not Ukraine, in UK that makes a lot of little littered boxes, and I just kind of thought I could, make one, so I went ahead and did that. And this is a cherry bowl that I made for my wife for Valentine's Day. It's just a little ginger jar shaped bowl, and it's like I say, a lacquer finish. Most of my work that I do, I like the real highly gloss, highly polished finish, and it's probably about 12 coats sprayed on lacquer. Yeah, and it's Mohawk and it's catalyzed lacquer. So you spray it on, and about 15 minutes later, you can sand it and spray another coat on. And about every 2 or 3 coats, I sand in between it. And even the walnut, I like to completely fill the grain so there's no grain showing. So it's all just a glossy finish. Okay.
So how do you finish it all at once or how do you turn it upside down and get it out?
Yeah, I kind of just, I actually take an old t-shirt and put it over my hand and hold it and spray it. And, it's, then I can set it down and, like I say, it dries so fast that, you don't need to work with it too much.
Very nice.
You finish the inside also?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not as highly polished, but it's got, several coats on the inside. Okay.
White House. Anything else you want me to help carry others?
This Saturday. Well, this is another piece from the field trip. This is an ingrain piece. Saw the log sitting there with this interesting kind of shape at the end and thought I can do something with that. So I also turned it the very next day because I couldn't wait. And when I first got it, I noticed there was some rot, a lot of rot. But as I continued to turn, obviously this is also a crotch. There were 2 branches coming out. This branch was completely rotten. So I ended up with a gigantic hole right here. Now I do not mind a hole in a bowl, but this was a little bit too much. So I had also picked up a pocket full of walnuts while we were there. So I just cut the walnuts up and filled the hole with them and coffee grounds. So it kind of looks, I don't know, kind of looks like dirt. I don't know. I was going for something. Maybe it worked, maybe it didn't, but something very organic. But I kind of left the back, a little bit kind of uneven and bumpy like this, just playing. It was fun to do. And I've had to resand the bottom about 4 times as it has continued to dry and warp. 6 maybe. Anyway, that was a lot of fun to do. And I've still got some more of the same log, so I can do some other stuff with that. This piece, I think it was month before last, I brought in a bigger piece that was kind of similar to this. Well, this is the other half of that log, which I was going to throw away, but I thought it had potential, so I turned it as well. I had a glossy finish on the other one, which I did not like. This is just this is bead and wax, so this is a very matte finish. And it turned out pretty nice too. I burned the edge just to give it a little contrast. So I really like doing these pieces because you really take what the log gives you if you want to keep its original shape. You can only go so far with shaping it, and then what the bowl is really determined by what the wood is. So I find them a lot of fun. This,
Question.
yeah.
when you say you burn the edge, like with a torch?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
After you turn or while you turn?
after. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just turned it and got it all sanded down and then just it was still on the lathe and I just, turned it around and just burned the edges here. Just a little handheld torch. Hmm?
Small butane.
Yeah, just a little tiny handheld butane torch.
You didn't burn mark on the outside inside source, you just handle it all after that.
Got a few, but that torch is so small and the flame is so pointy that you can really be targeted with it. So you get a lot of control. There's a few spots, and I just sanded those lightly off. This is from a piece of cedar that someone here gifted me. Is he here tonight? Okay. So I got a log, which I still have another part of this log. And of course, I love to work with cedar once in a while. It's really beautiful, but it's really dusty and it's just, I can't work with it all the time or it would just be too irritating. But it's really fun to do from time to time. Another ingrain piece, of course, finished with satin spray poly, I think. I have a hard time finishing cedar. It's I don't know. This took a couple tries, but anyway, had fun doing this. It does also have holes in it, but I can live with those. And I still have a half a log from the same person, so I get to have more fun with cedar in the near future. And then finally, so I hike, and when I hike, I pick up wood. And it's sort of the time of year when the forestry people are out there doing their thing. And they cut down a lot of black cherry because it's just kind of a weed in a way. And I actually like the wood. So I pick up a lot of black cherry on my hikes. And this is one piece. And I just started turning it with no plan. And it turned into a lighthouse. I don't know. And so it's got a little removable light in here. We got a whole bag of these. If anybody needs some little tiny LED lights, you got to buy them by the 100 practically. But I do have the option. This comes out. I do have the option of turning it into a lamp at some point if I want to do that, and I may. And the bottom, this was fun. So I turned this, and because obviously it was going to be very uneven on the lathe, I could not get it to stand straight. I could not get this bottom flat. I tried several times. I only made the problem worse. So I finally took a small, like 6-inch silicone mold that I have. And I put this in the middle of it and I poured blue resin in there. Well, I shimmed it up on the bottom first, shimmed it up, got it level, poured blue resin in there, took it out, trimmed it up, carved it to make it look a little more like water. And there you go. Design decision. But yeah, this was really fun to do. So yeah, those are my pieces.
Okay. We have some M and oh, I don't did you get the tray here? Here.
Shapes like that.
All right, this is one of the first bowls I turned. I got the wood from Tony, and he was kind of mentoring me on this, along with Jim Steffen. And it's cherry, came out pretty nice, polished it up. This one's out of apple wood. All right. And I use that trick with the coffee grounds to fill the hole in that's sitting over here. And it's kind of hard to tell that was a hole. It's like a knot. Yeah.
Difference between turning cherry and turning out.
I guess I'd have to give you more experience to know the real difference because I was still having issues with just learning how to get my strokes even on them. So I didn't have as much sanding to do. Um, I found that this apple wood it turned pretty nice. The cherry was nice too. Um, and this is just a piece of oak that I took and decided to just try to turn it into like a little bit of a plate. And I still have to polish this one. And I left the base on it, so it's a good way to kind of stand it off the ground a little bit. I don't know how many people have made mistakes, but I was trying to do really thin, and I got the bottom too thin. So I cut out the hole and I put this little pedestal on here. This is, I believe, ash, if I'm not mistaken. And this is just a piece that I got from Jim to kind of put on the bottom. As far as pens go, I've done a number of pens. This is all laser cut wood that's inlaid into this pen in the form of fish. Once it's in place, you really can't do anything with the blade other than sand it down because you rip out the pieces. They've got an American Eagle on a flag that I would like to do as well. I actually did this on Friday. This is actually Cocobolo. Funny, it was supposed to be a pen for my boss, but that just didn't work out, so I made it for myself. And there's another story behind that, but I'm not going to go into it. And then I started playing with mixing material. This is Hadouk and resin, or an acrylic in the middle, which I thought came out pretty nice. And last but not least, this is the Lighthouse pen. It was a kit from Penn State. It a little lights up. And then, of course, it's got the pen on the bottom. So, and then it's just an acrylic base that I turned. And all my pens, I pretty much use a skew for doing it all instead of a spindle gouge. Just seems to work much easier. What do you look for? I actually bought the kit, was all done. All the parts were cut. All I had to do was assemble it and put it together. Rockford has some kits for that. They got a whole slew of different kits.
Well, let's start working around and have the birds and we'll get one off for giving that. It's like a lot of. I brought a lot of, walking out of here, like, so. Well, right. The one. Yeah. It's.
All right. I have just a MIDI lathe, so I can't turn anything very big, so I do a lot of smalls. And I enjoy turning some bowls, but I get bored with turning bowls, so you can see I turn a lot of other things. This is a box elder burl that I had, small burl that I had been saving for a lot of years. I turned this right before Christmas time. For my wife, I actually got two bowls out of that, and I tried playing around a little bit the first time I tried using the dye, the Kita dyes, and it worked out pretty good. And it's just a sprayed on lacquer finish. But I'm a natural wood guy, and so I'm still trying to determine whether I like the dyed wood or the natural. And the box elder burl was pretty plain. There wasn't a lot of color, even though there's a lot of figure, But anyway, for my two grandsons, they like trains. So for Christmas time, a train whistle. My son and his wife and the kids have chickens, so we had to make them a few chickens. That's a piece of box elder, and this one was just a piece of maple. Oh, this is out of mulberry. The train whistles. I have a lot of mulberry also. And a couple little, this was a little cherry, little tiny, I called it a nub. It was a little tiny cherry burl. I was able to hold it on the lathe and turn like a little ring dish for it. It still needs a finish put on it. And this was a piece of chestnut. My neighbor cut down a chestnut tree and was burning it. And I got there too late. Most of the big pieces had been burned. I got some limbs, and it's just absolutely beautiful wood, the figure in it. But that was about as big as I was able to get what was left. And made a lot of mortar and pestles the last couple of years for Christmas gifts. This was a piece of walnut, a good way to use up some scrap wood, and the good little gifts. I don't know if anybody ever really uses them or not. I've made 3 or 4 for my wife, and they sit on the counter, and I don't think she's ever ground anything up in them. But and then a couple years ago, I started making. I saw different people online making the birds, and I love the birds in the outdoor. And so this one's out of walnut. This is a piece of chestnut. It's just a piece of pine 2x4 with a little bit of dye on it. And this is just a piece of, I think it's a piece of buckthorn, something they pulled out of the woods by the house. Another bird and just a maple, a little bit of a maple burl or crotch piece left over. Another little bird out of walnut. So that's I call my place the tiny shop. Make tiny things. So
Are the bills carved?
no, they're turned on the lathe, and you turn the back end a little bit bigger, and then just make the cut on the bandsaw, kind of hand shape, narrow tail, wide tail, whatever. I've given a lot of birds, a lot of this type of thing away for gifts. So yeah. Okay.
What is your process for applying the dyes to those dyed pieces?
On the dyed pieces?
Yeah, how do you do that?
I looked at different dye systems. I bought it's KEDA, Keda powdered dyes. It comes in a little packet, and they just mix with warm water. So you can mix a small amount. And I finish sand down to about 400 and then apply the dye. And the dye, because it's water-based, it does raise the grain a little bit. So sometimes you have to do maybe like a sanding with a 600 and then reapply it again, depending on how dark you want it. But I have some pieces where you can blend it. It blends really nice for transition, like from a red to a blue, you get a purple, and then I just a lot of this stuff is just hand rubbed, or the the poly, so.
Where did you grab when the trade was?
That was something that came online. I actually did. If you're interested in the pattern, I did write it all down with the dimensions. If I don't know who was asking, yeah. If you see me and mention it to me, I have it written down. So, there's the little tricky. I learned a couple things about, you have to, where the split is, it has to be at a certain point or it won't whistle. So yeah. So okay.
Ron, it looks like you're next. I would recognize your references. That's space on.
It's all in one piece.
I'll start with the more simpler one here. This is a
simple little bowl. A lot of my pieces, if I make them, and sometimes they go into a shop or a gallery or a gift shop or an art store, and they don't sell. So I get them back the following year and I rework them, and then they do sell. So that's kind of neat. So this is a piece of black ash that I had, and I always sort of do my little signature patina paint on the outside edge. And initially, this was much thicker, kind of clunky looking. I didn't really care for it. It's probably why it never sold. And the bottom came to a base, which I took completely off. And I added this little piece here. And I just also patina that so it looks like the top. Kind of an interesting look. And hopefully it might sell. We'll see. Questions or anything? These two pieces are for the beads of courage. I've been kind of pushing that here. And if anyone needs beads, we have them here. This is my second attempt at a segmented piece, and it's working pretty good, actually. I've realized with segment work that I built the jig for it with the two arms that vary, and realized that the only way to really do segmenting properly, at least as far as I'm concerned, you got to buy the wedges. I tried making the wedges, it doesn't work. I mean, you have to be so incredibly precise, especially when you get up to 24 or more wedges or segments to make a ring. You're off by a quarter of a degree, and it's not going to work. So I bought the wedges. They're not that expensive, and the first time I used it, perfect, absolutely perfect. So buy the wedges. Anyhow, and this is just a popper. Simple. It's a softer wood. Simple to make, real easy to turn. And I love segmented stuff. It's really super easy to turn because you're turning with the grain all the time. And I just made a little bit of contrast on the outside here with light and dark popper wood, and added some color to it with the airbrushing work and a simple. On wood like this, I always like using the amber polyurethane white bond initially, because I love how it pops the grain and it makes the colors really rich. And then I come back because this winds up it's destined for a child in time. After a few days, I let that dry and I come back and I put down several coats of the water base because it doesn't have a sort of a chemical type smell that seems to last forever, actually. And this one, I decided to play around and I made a little rocket. So there's typically the insides have a specific dimension. This has that dimension, but it's vertical. Probably not correct, but some kid's gonna love this. I know it. So, so again, this is my third segmented piece, and it turned out just perfect. And the trick to get this absolutely curved, this nice curved matching this curve, is I turn this, of course, minus the leg and minus the bottom. It's on a face plate, and this was on a face plate. I turn this, hollowed it all out. I turn this roughly. I made sure that at least the lip fit perfect, and the outside was not quite to the dimension I want. I put them back together, and I put it back in the lathe, and I turn it as a single piece, as a single unit. And then you get that wonderful curve, sand it all down, and they come apart, and they're done. It makes life a lot easier. When you get this wonderful curve, it's almost impossible to try to match curves. So anyhow, that's it.
So I do have a question. So you find that putting a water-based coat over an oil-based finish buries the smell?
I think it does. It buries. It certainly buries the polyurethane smell. So I put down either the general finish you can buy upstairs. They have a really good water-based semi-gloss I use, or even Minwax. They're semi-gloss. They call it polyacrylic. It's their water-based material. So.
And then my other question for anybody that's interested, where did you get these wedges? Or I'm not familiar with that. Could you?
Oh.
You bought wedges, you're saying?
Yeah, the plastic wedges. Trying to remember. The segmentology. This is the fellow who kind of really, I don't know, I don't think he originated segmented work.
Seg Easy is.
That's it.
is Jerry Bennett's.
Yes.
When I came up with the idea, that's where.
Okay. That's where I bought the wedges.
Me.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Seg
Easy.
Seg Easy.
Yeah.
Wanna buy the wedges.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question,
Yes.
guide use for your blue on
On this?
the blue, yeah.
Okay. Well, this is all taped off and I just use acrylic paints. Just artist acrylic paint through an airbrush. I have airbrush consistency paints, and if it's a little too thick, I just add a little bit of reducer, a medium, or even some water.
Play with the airbrush.
I apply it with the airbrush, yeah. Because if you look real close, it's kind of a mottled pattern in here. There's some purple, there's some green, there's some blue. And then I follow it up with sort of an iridescent speckle material, and then I put it all up with the water-based varnish to protect the finish. So, and the fins were just sort of carved out of a piece of wood, and they are actually held in place with two little, almost like nails that I cut off their pins, but so it's fairly solid.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have a kind of a nesting set of bowls here. That's and then this will be your last one, and then we'll take a break. Take about a 10-minute break and self-raffle tickets, you know, start getting our raffle tickets to everybody then.
This was a piece from an old apple tree that we took down, one of the limbs, and I had built had a larger piece that I built a vase for a friend for a inexpensive wedding present. So I figured that's a good way to do it. And this was a piece that was left over, and my wife then wanted something to put one of her Easter decorations in. So she gave me some specific dimensions, and that's how this one turned out. It was a request, and I just used a high friction polish, finish on it, and it was just one of the limbs that was left over, from we say we can't throw a piece of wood away. So that was this one. This one was my first attempt at a live edge, and it was a piece of crabwood, a crab tree. And the unusual thing is that the pith area is black, and the main wood was the lighter color. And I turned it in, even the bark stayed on, but it's kind of light. And so it actually worked. And so that gave me encouragement. So I took a piece of the wood from the tree, the walnut tree, and I started turning a live edge on that one. It had real nice thick edge on it. And I started turning it. And I got a little careless and I caught one corner of the live edge and peeled off a segment. And so I CA glued it back on and continued turning. And lo and behold, I had another catch and peeled off more. At that point, design change. So I turned it down and made a lip on it and left a couple of the pieces where the limb was showing. And but when it was in its rough shape, I put it in the microwave and, took the moisture out that way. I would do 30 seconds and let it cool for an hour and then do another 30 seconds. And I got because I didn't want it to warp. And I did get it to dry out, and it's been pretty stable. It's been, what was that, a month ago we were there, and it's stable. It hasn't warped. It's still a circle. And so I look at all the things. It's mistakes sometimes turn out to be something else, what you started with. So thank you. Pardon? I kept track of the number of times. I can't remember exactly, but I did it over a 2-day period. I put it in for 30 seconds and it would be warm, and then I would let it set for at least an hour. Sometimes I'd be busy doing something else and it might be a couple hours, but I did probably 10 cycles one day and then another 5, and I got it down to where it wasn't changing weight anymore. So that's when I stopped, and then I did the final, that was after I took all the bark off and everything, but I did the final turn and put the finish on then. But it,
You remove the pin or you going for
no, it stayed in. And I had one little hole on the bottom here, which I filled with some CA glue. I was afraid to mess with it, and I put some CA glue and some coffee grounds in that. But I ended up with just one crack here on the one side. So but that appeared before I started drying it. Because I started turning it wet, and it didn't take much that afternoon. After maybe 30 minutes, all of a sudden there was a crack. So we went from there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, these are the two threads. Yeah, that's interesting.
So a year ago, I bought my lathe. I didn't get it installed until October, like last year. So I'm just kind of getting started. I was fortunate enough to spend all of March down in the Keys of Florida without my lathe. I know some people take their lathes with them to Florida. So I had some time, and I found two people that had sawmills down there that were cutting kind of native Florida Keys woods. And I was able to grab a couple of pieces and turn some bowls, which turned out very interesting. This is a tropical almond, which was a really heavy, hard, dense wood. Turned very nice. This is Royal Sania, and I just thought the color, the yellow, was so cool. This is no special finish on it, and it's really light. It was very interesting. And then this is the one that has been very, very trying. I've had this on the lathe now 5 times. I started turning it. It was very, very, very open pore, and I have a lot of bug holes in it. So I thought I'd try for the first time in my life 5-minute epoxy, and I fill the holes, and you have to go back and kind of like sand them down. And then I end up with more holes. This is a Norfolk pine, and that's another one that I'm trying to learn how to do. But you get these feathers in here based on where the branches are coming out. So this is not end grain. Yeah, end grain turned. But you got to get it. You have to turn it like the inside of the bowl first, so you can get it adjusted so that you can see the feathers. This one I went through, and this one I haven't got to quite yet, so I didn't do a real great job. But yeah, this epoxy and trying to fill the holes and then sand and find there's more holes underneath it has been very interesting. But it finished up really nice. I also got some fresh mahogany, which was really interesting to turn, and some eucalyptus. And then I actually have over on the table there 3 pieces of big pine key old growth pine, which was from some trees that came down in like 2017 with Hurricane Irma. It's really hard pine. So if you get one of the raffle tickets and you want one of those, it's kind of fun to try. Any other questions?
Okay, awesome. I have just 2 quick announcements before we take the break. Everyone who brought something in for show and tell, mention that to Lee when she's selling raffle tickets, and everyone will get one ticket. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the next meeting will be June 2nd, and the topic is tips and tricks. So tonight is more show and tell, end results. The next meeting will be your opportunity to share kind of some things that you've learned, either, whatever it is, finishing, sanding, turning, different tools, whatever you think you want to share. So start thinking about that and come prepared for that at the June meeting. So, and then in July will be the next meeting. We will be bringing Sally Alt in from San Diego, and Sally will be doing a Saturday demo, which there will be a charge for. and then a Sunday class, a hands-on class, which will be a limited number of participants. I don't know, Lee, did you want to say anything further or do it later, next meeting maybe?
Yeah.
Next meeting? Okay. All right. So just be aware of that. So it's 7:30. Let's start up again at 7:45. Thank you. Yes. Wait. Okay. Come on. Everybody who brought something in, see Lee to get your free raffle ticket. There's lots of awesome things on the raffle table this evening. Okay, so quick question. These folks had to leave, so I'm just going to ask. One of the fairly new member, Luciano Lucente, had to leave, but he's interested in turning the pot of a banjo. I believe he called it the pot, the round part, turning it on a lathe. And I was wondering if anyone here has any experience or any information on how to do that. So if you do see me, I have his phone number and I'll connect you. So musical instrument making using the lathe. Okay. Turns out that what I brought in is up next. So don't you love my new finishing technique? It's just awesome. I mean, it gleams. I brought in some rough turning. I thought I would talk about rough turning because I've recently talked to some members who are fairly new and are not familiar with twice turning bowls, turning it rough, letting it warp and dry, and then putting it back on the lathe and turning it the second time. So here's a piece. This happens to be a piece of bitternut hickory, and it's fairly small. But I turned it January 8th of 2025, and I've kept track. Whenever I think of it, every once in a while, I just weigh it in grams because that's more accurate than ounces. And I record it. I put the date and I record it. And when it stops losing weight, then it's reached equilibrium with the moisture content in the air at that time. But that can change because as I saw here, I hit 392 grams in March. So it only took 2 months to go from green. And this was a tree that was still living when it was cut down. And I turned it not too long after that. So it only took 2 months for something this small to reach equilibrium. And then it started going up. So a day later, it went up a gram. Right now, it weighs 396 grams. So it's gone up an extra 4 grams from when it reached its lowest point. So it just shows you that as the season is changing and the moisture content in the air is rising, it's going up. But this is a real simple way to do it. You turn it once, you turn it to about 10% diameter, leave it thick like this because it's going to warp. You can tell here that it's about 3/8 of an inch longer in this direction than it is in this direction. Typically, the growth rings want to, like from the pith, the sides will want to come down. So that's why you have to leave the extra wood, leave the tenon on, put it back on the lathe, and finish turn it, sand it, and it's ready to go. It'll stay around. So the one before I get to your question, the last thing I wanted to mention is when you turn it, you need to seal it so that it doesn't dry too quickly and crack. So this is just school glue. I got a gallon for $11 at Walmart. So I've coated it with school glue and that works. You can also just put it in a double brown paper bag with wet shavings and just leave it sit for a month or probably 2 months just to be safe. But it'll lose most of its weight in that first month or two. Yes. Well, somebody with a calculator or a sharp mind, which won't be me, it started out at 597 grams. So you're asking about 2 grams? 4 grams. It went up by 4 grams. But if you check it in a week, if it hasn't lost any more weight, it's probably ready to turn. But for a bigger bowl like this is some cherry. This was turned, and it interestingly, when you put the glue on it, you kind of get some mold as the moisture is coming out, but it'll turn off, so I'm not worried about the mold. But this one on April 2nd was 1,245 grams, and on May 3rd is 972 grams. So it started to lose quite a bit of weight. And this is the lid for it. So this will be a Beads of Courage bowl at some point. So you'll see it again in a couple of months, I would think. Something this size probably going to take four months to reach equilibrium. But it doesn't really, fit. Everything's moved and warped and etc. But the other thing I wanted to mention is I still have the tenon here. At some point, this will become the knob, and we'll embed the Beads of Courage bead in there. But to turn the inside, there's just this little groove in here, and you can expand your jaws into that once it's dry, and turn the outside, leave this tenon on. So you've got the inside all completed, flip it around on the lathe. I'm sorry, you do all of the outside, expanding into that little groove, and then flip it, and then you can do the inside, and you can still leave that little groove there as a decoration, and then turn your tenon off. And I will do the same thing with this. When I'm ready to turn it, I will put a groove in here, expand into it, turn the outside, turn it back around, put it on the tenon, and do the inside. Then flip it into a donut chuck and take the tenon off. So that's the process of dealing with wet wood and doing twice turn. Yeah, about a quarter of an inch. It depends on the wood. This is cherry. You'll find that cherry is pretty stable. And the other thing too is most of the movement happens up here, up at the rim. It doesn't move quite as much down here, but it does move some. So I learned that lesson. I made a tenon perfect, and then it warped, and then you got to go to a smaller chuck, smaller jaws. So for rough turning, yeah, I do leave the tenon oversized. Good question. So I have I have my corners rounded. I guess you're looking at the tenon. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The tenon is that would be a good idea because I've done that here. I've taken the corners off, so there's no sharp edges to crack. And there's no reason you can't take that sharp. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that I have slightly chamfered it. It's a real tiny chamfer. It's like a 16th of an inch, but it could be bigger. But you're right. Yeah, you don't want to leave any sharp corners anywhere. Cherry's very stable. The wood that I've had the most problem with is white oak. If it's big. Something about this size, white oak will be fine. But I did some white oak that was 15 inches, and that all starts cracking up here, even though I had put 2 layers of glue on it and stuck it in a paper bag. So it's kind of belt and suspenders, and it's still kind of cracked, but just like an inch or so. So I'll just turn that off, and I'll just have a shorter bowl. But it depends on the wood. Wood that moves a lot is going to be more crack prone in my experience. Yes. I bought the first time I used a glue, I bought Titebond, and that was pretty thick. And I did add water, just enough to where I could stir it around and slop it on with a chip brush. The school glue is thin enough that I don't bother thinning it. But I know Mike Mahoney does this with PVA glue, and he just kind of by eye puts enough water in to where he can make it thin enough to brush on. So it's not so thick that you're glopping it on. And the water will just evaporate. It already has water in it. So, okay, thanks. Who's up next? Jim.
Somebody said they like to keep it shiny so they don't see the grain. I'm kind of the opposite, especially with burls. I like to see the grain, so I stay away from the shiny stuff. But on this one here, my neighbor is an arborist. So he brings me this weird stuff and wants me to do something with it. So this one has 7 branches coming in. And the big part is at home yet. This was the top, the small part. So eventually, this is Mughal pine. So eventually you'll see the bottom in here too. But I turned it and then I thought, geez, I'm going to try. When I was here last time, I melted some styrofoam with xylene. And I thought, geez, I'm going to try that. Well, it's shiny. It's too shiny. So I didn't like that. So I kind of buffed it down and then I just waxed it. So that's the extent of this bowl here. It's just wax. In another month, I'll buff it. I'll get a little more of a shine to it. But for now, I don't. What?
The coloring is natural.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I didn't do anything with it other than put that. I don't know if regular varnish would have done that. But the styrofoam did it. I don't know if it, like I say, I'll have to try it on something else. It's actually a clear varnish. It goes on. I tried it on some other wood. It didn't change like a varnish. It brings out the color. But yeah, it's real shiny. And I didn't like that. My buddy got me a cherry burl, a big one. So I took 2 chunks out like this and 2 smaller ones. He gave me 2 and then he's got the other 2. I turned it and this cracked. There was a 1/4-inch crack, and I don't know how many of you saw the crack. I got a hard time deciding whether I should use a different color or try to blend it. And in the past, when we had our carving shows, I'd always have some bowls there. And fill cracks with turquoise. That always seemed to work well. And so I looked at this and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to use gray construction adhesive, which I did. It'll hold. And then I thought, you know what? I don't like the gray, so I tried to blend it in. And I'm always undecided about whether I should blend it or make it look completely different. And so that's what how this ended up. But it's something a little different. And this is just waxed. So I like wax. Again, when it dries good in a month or so, I'll buff it. It'll shine a little more. And but that, like I say, I'm not a big gloss fan because you don't see if you use a plain wood, it's okay. But if you have a lot of grain in it, it obscures the grain. And so I stick with satin or stuff like that.
So on the piece that you're holding, so you turn the inside, you want a lot of power carving or hand carving to give it all those convoluted shapes.
No, see, I got my recess in the bottom. It was on a late.
Right.
About every 8th revolution, I just pulled a screw back. And you don't like that idea? You got to be quick. You got to be quick. Yeah, no. I did turn what I could, and then a 4-inch grinder. I got a nice, like a half dish cutting wheel on there, or it's like a rasp, and then you can clean out the different areas. And I did that here too because it was real thin here. I had to leave a little more here. You don't think I could that quick? No. Anyway, it sounded good for a second or two, but yeah, no, the trouble is it's messy. I mean, when you're using that, hell, you got dust going all over and so on. But Yeah, I've got a couple of big burls too. I've used the chainsaw in the past of I've got did you ever hear of a chainsaw gouge? You take the chain off, you take the bar off, you take the sprocket off, you put a pulley on, and then it goes on. There's a cutting wheel that's round, it's got 4 cups on it. And you use that. That works pretty good. The trouble is you got to be able to hold, you know, when I chainsaw carved my 17-foot crocodile, I used that to put all the ridges in. And that worked great there because the log was big enough it wouldn't move. But for a small bowl,
Something that will take off an appendage or two.
it works pretty damn good. I mean, it's well, no, I got them all. And surprising, the one that sells that in this country wants $800 for that attachment. On the internet, there's a guy in Russia that's selling them for 125. And I thought, no, I'm not going to take a chance. And my buddy, he said, oh, for 125, he said, take a chance. They said it would be 2 months, maybe by the time it goes through customs. On a Sunday, I ordered it. I thought, well, I'll get it maybe in 2 months. That next Friday, Sunday to Friday, DHL pulled in the driveway, they had it. It made 26 stops, went through customs in Indiana. I thought maybe somebody was importing them and had them in this country, but it actually was shipped just from the other side of the Black Sea, and works good. So that's fine. So anyway, yeah, and it didn't come from China. So, but yeah, that's I kind of like that color, something different, and of course the cherry. I always like that. So, but I like wax. It's it works good. So thank you.
Well, no, I can't claim responsibility for these. This is a member who's not here this evening, but I picked these up last weekend. Tom Christensen lives up in Egg Harbor, and I was up in Door County last weekend, and we got together for lunch, and he handed these off to me so I would deliver them to the club, and they are 3 Beads of Courage bowls. Beautiful pieces. I don't know much about them, short of they really look gorgeous. This is a segmented piece. I don't know what kind of wood this is. There's walnut in here for sure, and probably I'm not sure what this is. So, and I'm not sure about this. This is sort of like spectrum ply, but it's not in color. It's just black and white. So I don't know if this is something you buy like this, 3/4 inch thick, or 1 inch thick, or 2 inch thick. Do they? Okay, okay. Well, that's what that is. So anyway, they're beautiful pieces. If you happen to look at them and look close, I mean, nicely turned, even about 1/4 inch, if that, and then some texture work on the outside. So anyhow, Tom Christensen up in Egg Harbor, he made these 4. And I don't know if he's out there listening. He may have been on Zoom. I'm not sure. But anyhow, Tom, thank you.
The rolling pin will be next.
So this is one of 3. Got 3 kids. So Christmas present. All with the help of God. One of the things I had when I started thinking about doing this was I was concerned about the not getting exactly perfect. If it wasn't, I was going to think about it the rest of my life. So I saw a lot of people where they would take the blank, which is really just a square, and they would cut it at an angle and glue it together, back together, and then turn it and glue it at an angle. The one person that I found that made sense was don't cut it all the way through. Cut it and then leave about maybe 1/4 inch thickness, and then you put a slice of the wood in your cut saw. And then that way it always stays lined up. And so that was, 4 sides. I did about a 25-degree cut off of the blade. And it does have a rod through the center, which was hard to cut or hard to drill. It's because you have to have a long bit, and then you got to have the chuck, and then so I ended up using the extension on the actual to get it through. But it was fun. Oh,
So what did you make the cuts with?
the
What kind of saw?
oh, just a table saw.
A table saw.
Yeah, and with the standard blade.
Okay, very interesting. Very nice. Yeah. This bowl here, looks faulted. It's faulted bowl. Yep. All right, I'll be careful, catch you.
Thank you for saving Jim for last. Fairly in for about a year, and this landed on my front lawn 2 days after we moved into our house, after we moved here from Pennsylvania. It was a victim of ash borer, and this is an end grain ash. It started out about 12 inches in diameter and about 10 inches long. And because I got a brand old lathe with the house when we bought it, I figured how hard can it be? Anyway, I turned it down to about this big and about that tall, threw about 20 coats of polyurethane on it and patted myself on the back. And as time went by, I said, this sucks. It was a straight side with my first thing. So 3 times, 4 times now, I've had it back on the lathe, shaping, doing this, that, and the other thing, and taking about 8 more pounds of stuff out of the middle. But it came out nice. I'm never going to let anybody have it. You can see the cracks in it, and I went in from the end grain. This is a piece of birch. I get a lot of birch from one of my neighbors. He's a tree guy. I have big pieces, little pieces, and all it has on it finish wise is Howard's wheat feeding wax. Yeah, and it gives it a really nice sheen. It came out nice. I like that. I don't like really shiny things yet. After all the coats of poly on there, this was an unknown piece of 4x4 with whatever this was, and this was African something or other. I picked it all up at estate sales. I haunt estate sales. I get a lot of really nice wood for really cheap. It actually was, this was one piece all glued up, and I had that big a piece left over, so I said, let's make a ring bowl. Same way, just linseed oil on this, linseed oil here and linseed oil there, and I hit it with some I think 2 coats of the linseed oil and some Yorkshire grit friction polish to clean it up, and I'm happy. If you noticed, I'm not one of those guys who gets crazy and hollows. If it's going to go on a shelf, why bother? So this will don't work hard on the bottom. All right, I believe we can curl it, like it. Yeah. Yep, it's acrylic. So it's not that I don't like wood. I love wood. I've been a carpenter since I've been 18. But yeah, so I saw this on TV, so I thought I'd give it a try. Bunch of pine cones, obviously, and I had to inject them with the cactus juice because the acorns or pine cones are very light. And just threw them in a jug, mixed my acrylic, poured it in there, formed it up, and put it on the lathe, big Forstner bit, hollowed out the inside for the most part, but I still had to turn it a little bit.
and turned the outside a little bit, sanded it down, and presto, I got something from my wife. But this is really why I came. I'm having an issue. I don't know how many people here work with acrylic or epoxy. I'm trying to make something for my daughter for her wedding, and it's not going too good. But I was trying to make her a square bowl. But first of all, never make it out of acrylic is what I've learned, you know. But so this is what I have. But this is what's happening to it. And I'm getting nice ribbons off of it at times. And then all of a sudden I just get a big catch and it just gouges it. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, you know. So if anyone has any insight, I have sharp brand new tools that I bought. I don't know if I'm going too fast of a speed, too slow of a speed. Well,
Contact.
right. And I've given up on a square pole because I've already chipped the corners out. So at this point, I'd be happy with a regular, smaller bowl. But again, I don't know what is going on that I'm catching as badly as I am.
Is it getting hot?
Is it getting hot? I'm not getting that far that it has a chance to get hot. No, yeah, and I have a real nice lathe that I can adjust the speed on the fly, and yeah, so that's carbide. Yep. It's see, again, and I don't know if I'm using a round carbide, which I don't know if I should be. I should be. Okay, well, that's good. And I've even turned it so it's a nice sharp contact point, you know, and everything. But I don't know if it's the kind of epoxy design or epoxy I think I'm using. Oh, tool rest is as close as I can get with could it be too high? It could be too high. I'm trying to center it on it, but it could be too high.
It's center just a little bit below.
Okay. All right. I'm, you know, I bought my lathe like 5 years ago, but the very first time I had a piece on there and it flew off and it scared the hell out of me. I mean, I'm a carpenter. I cut my finger off on a table saw, and I'm way more at ease on a table saw than I am that lathe. That lathe scared the bejesus out of me. You know, ever since that happened. I mean, I'm man enough to say that lathe scares the crap out of me. You know, but yeah. So thanks for your insight on what I might be doing wrong. But yeah.
How are you holding it?
Pardon?
How are you holding it on the lathe?
Oh, right now I got well, you can see this is coming off my my spindle head, and then I got my point in this side of
So
it.
between centers.
Yes.
I wonder if that's too wobbly. Or
No. Well, this part goes on yeah.
Recess on the back, like take your drill press and just like dead center it, put a recess
And
in
then
there,
put my chuck.
put your chuck jaws into it, it might be a little more steady.
So, oh, you're thinking that it might be waddling a little, and that's where I get my catch.
Or if you're going too fast, like you shouldn't go so fast that anything is wobbling or shaking.
Right. I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up. I'm not a quitter. So I'm
One thing, tiny. Easy wood tools, they sell a negative rake bit or their wood tools. Try a negative rake scraper, it might be.
I help, yeah, because it's a handy tool. And for what it's worth, I mean, because you probably have the larger round carbide, it's like the 1/4 inch.
right.
And I have the, I think it's called number 3 hollower, and it's a smaller tip. It's a hollower. It's not really meant for, but it's smaller and it's less aggressive. And I have really good luck with.
So smaller, even though it's a larger.
It's just a smaller tip. It's less aggressive, and because that's the thing, you're going to get the chip out if you too aggressive with the rest.
Right.
It self-regulates itself.
I'm trying as light a passage as I can, and it comes off fine, and then all of a sudden, yeah. But the first time was you'd see me flying out of the way. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Jim, you are our spinal, our grand use of rollers. 2, 3. Looking up for. This is incredible.
So the comment was to bring something that you recently turned at, I live about 2 miles from here at 10 minutes to 6. I put this on the lathe and I took the bottom off. So this is fresh. So this still needs a finish. And usually I put just a polyurethane mineral spirits 3-to-1 mixture and just kind of brush it on, maybe put like 2 coats on. This does not have that on yet. So remember that for later. About 3 weeks ago, George, who's on vacation right now, called me and said his neighbor is having a rummage sale. Sort of. It was a single older gentleman, lives in Franklin, went over to his house, and in his basement, just a regular ranch style house. In his basement, I have never, ever seen so many big tools. And he ended up knocking out above his stairway. He has a huge I-beam and a pulley system, and that's how he's been able to get this stuff down there. He had 2 8-foot bed Oliver lathes. He had a huge milling machine. I mean, just gigantic stuff. He was a pattern maker and
Is he married?
never been married. Yeah, never been married. Unfortunately, he was going into assisted living, and his brother was kind of liquidating all the stuff. And I mean, major project. Just amazing how much stuff, big stuff he had. All 3-phase, but big stuff. Anyway, I didn't buy any tools, but against the wall, there were 3 planks of mahogany. They were 2-inch thick, about 8 feet tall. 2 of them were 10 inches wide and 1 was 12 inches wide. And they had like a little oil on one of them. And I was, is this, going to come off, or how deep is that soaked in? So on the 12-inch wide one, he let me cut off a 12-inch section, a square section. So I brought it home that night, planed it down on the joiner, just went over the joiner on that oily edge. Came out really good. Turned a shallow bowl platter, burned it, colored it, went back the next day with a finished product and said, yeah, I'm interested in those 3 planks. So I got a sweet deal on all 3 planks. And in the last 3 weeks, I got 26 shallow mahogany platters out of it. And I kind of looked around my shop, and anything that was, close to 2 inches thick is just about all turned into a little bowl or platter. So the last 3 weeks, I've been doing a lot of that stuff. So I just brought a couple stages, obviously just like this. I put a little worm thing here to zip it on to the back side instead of putting a glue block. Thick enough where I'm still getting a little bit of profile here. Otherwise, I'd always put a glue block on the bottom. And then just flip it around, do the inside. Do the indexing. This one I indexed today, 120. Index is always mark it on the bottom. And then burn it. Burn it with a razor tip, skew chisel tip. And then it's a real simple burning method to get the look on the top rim. maybe the next meeting, I'll kind of show that when we're doing our little tips and tricks, but I mean, it really is a simple burning method that makes it pretty easy. Then again, just like everything else, Indian ink, pretty basic, simple pattern. The thing with, no, but I mean, no, seriously, I mean, this is very complicated, but, well, and the three here that I brought, again, there's not finishes on these either. So you can either spray on like a Krylon finish or do whatever you want. It's Indian ink, so it's not like a alcohol or water base. So pretty much whatever finish you put on there, it's not going to smear or bleed or whatever. So that's it. Any questions on anything? Similar stuff. I'm gonna leave these on the rack. Oh, right. This is Jerry and his shorter. That's But you don't get these, I'm gonna have fun with these.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, question.
You still like right?
Yeah, sure. Lee, well, yeah, we'll take about a 2 or 3 minute break. You can buy your raffle tickets and then Lee will run the raffle.
Sure. Our first lucky winner is 244810.
All right. What's the last three numbers for I have?
Yeah. Sure. Our next lucky winner is 800. $762. 820. 873. 854. 861. 768. 824. 765. What's my number?
Two winner. Wow. Oh, do you need to,
848.
do you want to go up there? I'll take over for you.
No. I was just seeing what my number is.
Oh, okay.
I didn't win any.
861. 861. Yeah, 861. Yep. Okay.
821. 872. 802. 846. 876. 808. 809. Let's mix that up. Yeah, mix them up a little more. I already mixed them up pretty good, but
Yeah.
760. 827. 803. 787. 797. 840. 794. 825. Yeah. 798. This is the wrong someone that doesn't have a number on it.
Oh, well.
Defective. Oh, well.
Keep seeing.
834.
Yeah, well.
860.
Perhaps.
857. 795. 865.
All right, there you go. Good.
817.
So still stuff on the table. All right, be giving you congratulations. Yeah.
856. 852.
Turn out to look up.
879. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
789.
It's getting close.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Maybe you should look.
Pause and,
Big pause, because yeah, we got a lot of numbers out there.
8, probably. If you think we said it, I'm sure we said it.
I just want to make sure.
We trust you.
We're down to the.
We're down to the.
Probably gonna have to take one more. Two more. Everybody that.
Everybody that
been there?
has got something? Okay,
Okay.
two more.
Two more.
Last two numbers. 844. Oh, this is probably the same person, 845. Mix that back in. And 829. Looks like locusts went through that table.
Like money.
80, we made 106 bucks. 81 and 25, yeah. 106 bucks. Okay, thank you. I mean, I guess that's a prop.
So everything's fine? Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Last week. Such a big wall.